Hi, if you want to learn the basic fundamentals of Nuxt Server, then this is for you. In this tutorial, we're going to highlight the following topics. So we're going to explore and create the basic API endpoints, basic dynamic API route, nested API route, as well as the dynamic nested API route. We are also going to explore the server middleware and why it is useful, and we'll also run some validations. And then the server plugins, so we're going to learn how to do a basic server plugins, and then using the server hooks as well as connecting the database. Then the server utils, so we're going to learn the purpose of the server utils, and we're also going to learn how to auto import a custom folder inside a server. Okay, and then explore H3 utilities, so we're going to explore and know what is H3. So the H3 utilities topic that are included in this tutorial are how to get body data from client to server, as well as adding data. Then we're also going to learn the basic of how to upload file from client to server, and then learn how to get queries in the API, as well as adding some typings. Request URL, get response headers or header, set response header, learn how to return or throw an error, and set, get, delete, and parse cookies. This tutorial is more than 1 hour, but I assure you that by the end of this video, you will have a good knowledge of Nuxt Server. So, let's get started. So let's start by creating an API. So here in the server folder, let's create a new folder, and then let's name it API. And then inside the API folder, let's create a new file, and then let's name it test.ts. Okay. And then inside the file, so export default, define event handler, and then the event. Okay, just like that. And then we will simply return hello world for now. Okay, and then save the file, and then back in the Postman, let's call the API there. So test, and then let's also add the API. Okay, so since there's an API there, so send, and as you can see, it outputs the hello world that we return here. Okay, and if you want to set a specific HTTP method in your server API, you can just simply suffix that with the method that you want. So rename that, and then test that get, for example. So that will be test.get.ts. So this will automatically convert into a get handler. Okay, so let's go back to the Postman, and if we send that, it'll output the hello world. Okay, but if we're going to change the method into post send, that won't work anymore, since this is a get handler now. Okay, but if you want your API to post, you can just rename that again, and then change it to post. Okay, back in the Postman, send that, and that will work the same. Okay, so the same thing for the put, patch, and delete. Okay, so let's view the Nuxt documentation real quick. So here in the matching HTTP method, there's a get, post, and put, and delete. Okay, so here get method returns get handler. Okay, same thing for the post, it will return a post handler. Okay, so any other methods returns 405 error. Okay, in case you don't want to use the word API in your server routes, so for example, here in the Postman, as you can see, if I'm going to change that into post and then send, as you can see, there's an API there, so API/test. Okay, but if you want to remove the API and just simply call the file name of the API there, so send, that won't work anymore. So to achieve that, you just simply need to rename the API here and then change it to routes. Okay, just like that. And then back in the Postman, and if you try that again, so send, and as you can see, it outputs the hello world without the API suffix here. Okay. So this is optional. If you still want to use the slash API slash API then test, that will work the same. But the common usage here is the host and then followed by an API and then the API name. Okay, so send that. That won't work anymore. So I'm going to change it back to API. Okay, since I like it that way. And then back in the Postman, send that back. It'll work again. Okay. So next, let's start playing with the dynamic server API route. So here in the server folder and inside the API folder, let's create a new file. And then that will be the dynamic API route. So open closing bracket and then ID. So you can name it whatever you want, but I'm going to use ID for now. And then followed by a method, which is get and then .ts. Okay. And then export. So export default, define event handler and then the event. Okay. And then let's just simply return um, dynamic route. Okay. And then save that. And then go back to the Postman. And then let's change the test here into a any different value. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, for now. And then send. And as you can see, it outputs the dynamic route, which is this one here. Okay, so back in the Postman, if you want to display the dynamic value here as our return, you can just use one of the H3 utility, which is the get router param. So router params, and then inside it, it's an event. Okay, and then back in the Postman, and then send that. And as you can see, it outputs the ID and then the value, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that ID is from the our file naming here. So if I'm going to change that into um, tests, okay, and then save that, and then back in the Postman, that will change into the test. Okay, so let's revert it back to ID. Okay, and then ID. Okay, so that's how you create a basic dynamic API route. Also, I just wanted to clarify something here. So back in the Postman, as you can see, we have here a dynamic API route and then API and then followed by a dynamic API route. So we also have here the test API available after the API. So you might be wondering if that will override the test.get API. So the answer to that is no, since we already specify the test route. So if I'm going to change that to test that and then send, that will output the test, or that will return the test API. Okay, so it is not going to override if you have the dynamic route set. Okay, now that we know how to create a simple dynamic API route, let's proceed with the nested route. Okay, so here in the server folder and then inside the API folder, let's create a new folder. So we're not gonna need this one. So let's just create a new folder here. So let's name it nested. Okay, but you can name it whatever you want. And then inside the nested folder, open closing brackets, and then followed by, or inside it, it's 3 dots. Okay, and then the file extension, which is ts. Okay, and then here let's create a router. So const router, and that will be create router. Okay, then after that, let's call the router. So router, and then followed by the http method. So in this case, or in our example here, it's get, and then slash, and then let's say test. Okay, and then the second parameter will be the define event handler, okay, and then event, okay, just like that. And then let's simply return here test nested route, okay. And then after that, let's export default, okay, default, okay, and then use base, and then that will be the API, and then the nested here. So API, and then nested, and then the second parameter will be router, and then handler, okay, just like that. And then save the file, and then let's open the Postman here. So change that to nested, and then let's also add here the tests. So the test that we created here. So send that, and that will output the test nested route. So that's here, okay. And if you also wanted to create a post method here, so for example, router, and then that will be post, okay. So router post, for example, and then let's say let's say we use the same API endpoint. So test, and then define event handler, and then that will be an event, okay, and then return post nested route, okay. So back in the Postman, so instead of get, so if I'm going to send that, that will output the test nested route, which is the get here, since our method is get. But if I'm going to select post here and then send that, it will output the post nested route, which is this one here, okay. So the same thing for the put and patch, okay. So let's see that in action. So router, let's say put, and then test. Let's actually just copy this one, okay, and then change that to put, and then let's also change the text as well. So remove that, or actually just let's just change this one here to put, okay, and then same thing for the delete, and then delete, okay, and then back in the Postman here. So post, that will output the post nested route. So if I'm going to change that to put, it outputs the put nested route. And if I'm going to send patch, it's not gonna output anything, since we didn't specify that here. So let's also add that, okay, for the sake of this tutorial. So patch test, and then patch, okay, and then in the Postman, so send that, and it will output the patch nested route. So same thing for the delete, okay. So if you want to add another route after the test, so let's just add here another router, and then your HTTP method, and that will be test, and then let's say a category, okay, category, and then followed by the define event handler, and then the event, okay, and then let's return here category, okay, simple. And then back in the Postman, and here let's what's the method here? So get, so after the test slash category, okay, and since our method there is get, let's change that to get, okay, and then send that, and that will output the category here, okay. So same thing when you add another endpoint here inside or next to the category, just the same process, okay. So that's how you create a basic nested API routes or server API routes. And now that we know how to create a simple nested API routes, let's try to create a dynamic API routes, okay? So that will be something like this, only it is nested. Okay. So just a quick note on this one. Here in Nuxt.view or in Nuxt website, it says here that note that currently server routes does not support the full functionality of the dynamic routes as pages do. Okay. But during the test, it actually works. But I wouldn't suggest using this in your real world projects. Okay. And I'm sure in the future they will support a server dynamic API routes. Okay. So let's actually test that. So here in the API, so in the API folder, let's create a new folder. So let's say, for example, we have a products. So that will be products. And then inside the products folder, let's create a new file. And that will be a dynamic category. Okay. So category, and then followed by a HTTP method. So get.ts. Okay. So export default define event handler and then event. Okay. Just like that. And then let's just simply return here product category. Okay. And then let's see that in action. So here, remove that. Let's actually remove until the API. Okay. So products and then the dynamic category name. Okay. So product category. Okay. And then to create a nested dynamic routes, let's create a new folder, and that will be category. Okay. So category. Okay. Just like that. So similar to this one, the only difference is this is a file and this is a folder. Okay. So inside the category or inside the dynamic category folder, let's create a new file, and that will be a product ID, and then followed by a method, so which is get.ts. Okay, so export default define event handler, and then event. Okay, and then product ID. Okay, so let's actually test that. So here, since this is our product category, as you can see, if I send that, this is our product category. But if I'm going to add another slash, a forward slash there, so that will trigger the product ID here, which is also a dynamic. So for example, 1, 2, 3, that will output the product ID, which is this one here. To actually see that in action, if it's actually working, so let's return get request params, I think params, router params. Okay, and then event and then save that, and then in the postman, let's send that, and it will output the category here, so which is this one, and then the product ID, which is this one here. Okay, and if we go to the just the category here, so it will output the product category. So if you're going to try to output the params, so example here, it should output only the category params. Okay, so let's go back to the product ID. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then example category name. So category, it's category value. Okay, so category and then category value, and then product ID. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the category here, that will be that's the category folder here, or and then the category file, and then the product ID, that will be the dynamic product ID here. Okay, so that will work the same with post and get. Okay, so let's actually test that. So if I'm going to change that to post, okay, and then change that to post, and then that will work the same. Okay, so same thing for the others as well. So put, patch, and delete. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, and let me know if you have any suggestions or questions about this one, since I think Nuxt this is not verified by Nuxt. Okay, but I'm sure they will do that in the future. Okay. All right, now that we are finished working with the server API endpoints, let's explore the server middleware. So let's close the API folder for now, and then here in the server folder, right click and then new folder. Okay, and then let's name it um, middleware. Okay, so Nuxt will automatically read any files inside the middleware folder, and it will be read as a server middleware. Okay, so let's create a new file and then log.ts. Okay, and by the way, you can just name the file here whatever name you want. So in my case, it's console log in this example. Okay, so and also notice that we're not setting any or we are not suffixing any HTTP method here, so we don't need that anymore in the middleware. Okay, so here in the file, so the same process. So let's actually just generate the Nuxt event handler. So just like that. So export default define event handler. Okay, and then let's console log middleware. Okay, just like that, and then open the Postman, or actually let's open first the terminal here, and then let me clear that out, and then open the Postman, and then if you remember, this is the first API that we created, so it will return the hello world. Okay, so let's send that, and as you can see, it outputs the middleware here, which is this one here. Okay, so just an important note, middleware will run first before it hits any API, okay? So middleware is useful if, for example, you are doing some validations or logging any requests or extending the events, okay? So let's actually see that in action. So for example, here we're going to run a simple validation if the authorization exists. So in the API endpoint, so here, let's just remove that and then const authorization, and then we'll be using an H3 utility, which is the get what is it called? Get request header. Okay, get request header, and then the first parameter will be the event, and then the second parameter will be the header value. Okay, so and that will be the authorization. So if you can use capital A or small a, that'll work the same. And then save that, and then let's console log for now. Okay, so authorization, right? Just like that. So we're not doing any validations for now. We're just console logging the authorization. Okay, so let's open the terminal here, and then let's clear that, and then back in the Postman, and then let's send the API. And as you can see, as expected, it outputs undefined. Okay, and the reason for that is because we did not specify the authorization here. Okay, so let's try and do that. So authorization. What happened? Authorization. Okay, so make sure if you are using a small a for authorization, use small a here as well. Okay, and then the value that will be any value, since this is just a simple example. So send that, and it will output the 1, 2, 3. Okay, so next let's run a validation. So if there's an authorization value, okay, if it's not undefined, we will be using another H3 utility, which is the event, and then the context. And then after the context, you can just you can set whatever value you want. So in this example, it will be authorized. Okay, so authorized. Okay, just like that, and then we will set that value into true. Okay, so just just a quick note again, you can just use any value on this one. Okay, as long as you're using the event context and then the value that you want here. Okay, so in this example, it's authorized. Okay, so let's close the terminal for now, and then else if no authorization value, so event context, and then we will set the authorized to false. Okay, just like that. And then since we are using the test endpoint API here, so back in the Postman, so as you can see API and then test. So that's this one here. So let's view the file, and then let's do the validation here as well, or console log for now. Okay, so console log. Okay, and then the let's go back to our middleware, and then the context that we created. Okay, so let's just copy that. Okay, and then paste that in your in our test API here. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I think it's very straightforward. So let's test that in the terminal. So let's clear and then send that again. Okay, so as you can see, it outputs true since there's a value in our authorization. But if I'm going to clear that again, and then I'm going to remove the authorization, so it outputs false. Okay. All right. That is our simple validation. So let's actually try to throw an error. So for example here, so if the authorized is true, or it is actually false, let's return the error. Okay, so status code, and then that will be 401, and then status message, that will be unauthorized. Okay, all right, so basically if the authorized is false, create an error, and that will throw a 401 unauthorized. Okay, so let's see that in action or in the Postman. So here, so as you can see, the authorization header is currently disabled, so it should display the error. Okay, so send that, and as you can see, it says 401 unauthorized. Okay, and you might be wondering, or you might be asking that we're doing multiple or repeated validation here. So here in the console log, you can actually just throw the error there. So for example, that one. So instead of doing a validation here, let's just completely remove that, or actually let's just console log if there's a value. So console log context are actually event, and then context, and then authorized. Okay, so here in the middleware, so let's just paste the error there and then add throw. Okay, so here for example, if this the error has no value, then throw an error. Okay, so if it has a value, so proceed to the endpoint and then console log it. Okay, so pretty forward. So let's test that. So let's clear our terminal, and then let's run that again. So the expected result here will be an error again. Okay, so as you can see, 401 unauthorized. But if I'm going to enable the authorization here, so enable that and then send, it console logs the true here, which is this one right here. Okay, so but if it's not, so let's disable that and then send. It won't hit the API, so it will throw an error. All right, so I hope that makes sense. So that's the one of the perfect example of the middleware. Okay, all right, let's try another example again. So this time, for example, we will set a specific header on a specific API endpoint. So middleware is the perfect place to do that. So what will happen is before it hits the endpoint, so for example, the test endpoint here, it will set the header. Okay, so to do that, let's run a validation first. So if, and then let's use another H3 utility, which is the get URL request URL. Okay, and that will be the event, and then it will be path name, and then followed by includes, and then API, and then test. Okay, since we're going to validate the test API endpoint. Okay, so open closing brackets, and then let's console log that for now. Okay, so um, correct endpoint. Okay, just to check it. So um, back in the Postman, and then let's actually open the terminal and then clear that, and then send. And as you can see, it outputs the correct endpoint since we're using the API test endpoint. Okay, so this time we will set a header. So another H3 utility again. So set header. Okay, followed after that inside that, it's the event, and then for example here authorization. Okay, so we will set an authorization on the test API endpoint. All right, so the value for that will be for example my custom authorization value. Okay, just like that. And then if we run that again, so let's actually select the headers here first. So as you can see, we have here the basic headers, but if I'm going to send that, and as you can see it here, it outputs the authorization and then the value of the header. All right. So I hope you learned something in the server middleware. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. So that's it for this topic, and we'll proceed with the plugins. Okay. All right, now that we are finished with server middleware, we can start working on the plugins. Okay, so to do that, right click on the server folder and then create a new folder and name it plugins. Okay, so let's close the middleware folder for now. And then here in the plugins folder, so anything inside the plugins folder will be registered as Nitro plugins. Okay, so this allows us extending Nitro's runtime and for hooking into lifecycle hook. Okay. So you might be wondering what is Nitro. So Nitro is a standalone package that you can use as web server. And the people behind it are also the people behind Nuxt. Okay. So it is a open source TypeScript framework to build ultra fast web servers, and it is open to anyone. So in case if you don't want to use Nuxt and you want to use Nitro as your web server, you can use that. Okay. So just a quick side note here. So anything inside the server folder, it's all powered by Nitro. Okay. So if you want to learn more about Nitro, they have a website, and it's here. Okay. So this is their website, and they have a guide here. And also, if you want to know the difference between Nuxt and Nitro, I recommend Alexander Licher's channel. Search the Nuxt versus Nitro. Okay. So back in the VS Code, here in the plugins, create a new file, and that will be test.ts for now. Okay. And then inside the file, let's do export default and then define Nitro plugin. Okay. And it will be a Nitro app. Okay. And then let's just console log the Nitro app for now. Okay. So Nitro and then Nitro app. All right. So let's go to the terminal. So as you can see, it outputs the available hooks and then the H3 app and then the router and then some other like a local call, local fetch, capture error. Okay. So let's try some examples, and we'll be using a hook inside the available inside the Nitro. Okay. So to do that, let's just remove the console log and then Nitro app. So that's the Nitro app here. So Nitro app, and then followed by hooks, and then hook, okay, without the S, and then the um, hook here, okay. So these are the available hooks inside the Nitro, okay. So this time we'll be using the render HTML, and then HTML, okay, and then event, right, just like that. And then let's just console log the um, HTML rendered. Okay, so And also we will be adding a content inside the body. So the moment it renders the HTML, let's add a content in the body. Okay. So to do that, it will be like this. So HTML. So that's the HTML here. Okay. So HTML and then append body and then push. Okay. So here, let's just say an H1. Okay. So that's our HTML tag there. And then the content. So I am from plugin, okay? Or let's say I am from Nitro, all right? Just like that. So let's test that. So inside the terminal here, let's just actually let's disable the error here that we throw. So we're making sure that we're not throwing any errors, okay? So disable that, and then back in the test plugin, and then the terminal, and then let's just terminate the app for now and then run again. Okay. And then let's open the see, as you can see it here, it says 401 unauthorized. So that's the middleware here. Okay. So now that we disable that, and then if we refresh, okay, it should display the Nuxt welcome. Okay. And then back in the VS Code, and as you can see, it renders the console log here in the plugin. Okay, so that's this one. And then if we go back to the browser, and if you scroll down, as you can see, it says here I am from Nitro. So that's the content that we created here. Okay, so let's just close this one, and then let's temporarily remove the Nuxt welcome for now, and then save that. And then as you can see, it outputs the I am from Nitro. So inspect that, and that is inside the body, and it has an H1 tag. Okay, so if you want to manipulate the rendered HTML, you can use this hook. Okay, all right. Now that we know how to manipulate the rendered HTML using the Nitro hook, this time we will track the user agent. Okay, so to do that, okay, so Nitro app hooks. So the same process, and this time instead of render HTML, it will be render response. Okay, so here response, and then the event. Okay, just like that. So let's just console log the event for now, so we can see what's inside the event. Okay, so back in the terminal, and then let's just clear that, and then refresh, and then back in the VS Code. And as you can see, we have here the available event. Okay, so there's a node, rec, and then res, and then there's also web, context, method, and everything here. Okay, so let's just close that, and then let's just or actually let's just let's just remove the console log. Okay, to do that, use the event, and then it will be inside the node, and then rec. Okay, and then headers. Okay, and then the user agent. Okay, so let's just put that inside the console log. So console log user agent. Okay, so let's open the terminal again, and then let's clear that. Okay, so then refresh, and as you can see, it outputs the user agent. Okay, all right, now that we know how to use the basic hooks or Nitro hooks, this time this is for the MongoDB users. So for example, you want to connect your MongoDB in your Nuxt app, so you can do this. So if you're going to use Mongoose, so it will be something like this. So import, so you're going to import the Mongoose. So Mongoose from Mongoose. Okay, but in this example, it's gonna cause an error because I don't have the Mongoose package installed. But it's something like this, and then inside the define Nitro plugin, it's something like this. So Mongoose, and then connect, and then it will be inside it. It will be the use runtime config, and then your Mongo URI. Okay, so you need to configure that inside the Nuxt config. Okay, so after that, let's just console log here. So we're checking if the MongoDB connection is successful. So connected to, I misspelled the connected. So connected to MongoDB. Okay, so it's something like this. Okay, that's pretty easy. And if this console log won't show up, that means there's a problem with your connection. All right. All right, so that's it for the server plugins topic, and I hope you learned something in this tutorial. Okay, so if you want to learn more about Nitro, you can just go to their website, and here in the guides, as you can see, there are examples here, and there's also capturing errors. Okay, and then the hook ones. Okay, so here's the request and then the after response. Okay. So if you want to manipulate the before the response, you can use before response. Okay. And if you also want to manipulate after response, you can use the after response hook. All right. And also here in the Nuxt website. So just go to the get started or actually guide and then going further. All right. And then the lifecycle hooks. Okay. So scroll down and then the server hooks and then click the learn more about available Nitro lifecycle hooks. Okay, so click that and these are the available lifecycle hooks. Okay, so hook name and then the arguments and then the description. All right. All right, now that we are finished discussing the server plugins, let's start discussing the server utils. So server utils is usually if you have a reusable function and you wanted to call it in your inside your APIs, it's best to store that in the utils folder. Okay, so to do that, let's just simply create a new folder here, and then let's name it utils. Okay, so let's close the plugins for now, and then anything here inside the utils folder are auto imported. Okay, so it auto imported out of the box. Okay, so let's create a new file, and that will be um, my function. Okay, you can name whatever you want, but I'm gonna name mine as my function. Okay, so here function, my function. Okay, and then let's just export default my function. Okay, and then here let's simply return hello, I am from utils. All right, so let's try and call that in the inside the API. So here in the test endpoint, so remove the hello world and then change it with the my function. Okay, so in case it's not auto importing in your end, you might want to restart the app and then your IDE. Okay, so let's do that. So here I'm going to restart my IDE. So yarn dev. All right. Now once it is running, let me remove the import here and it fixes the issue. Sometimes it won't work, so you need to restart your IDE. Okay, so just in case it won't work, like restarting your app and then restarting your IDE, the last option for that is to configure it inside the Nuxt config. Okay, so manually registering the auto import. Okay, so to do that, it's something like this. So nitro, so you are referencing the server folder. So just like I mentioned before, anything inside the server folder are powered by nitro. Okay, so if you want to reference inside the folder, use nitro, and then here imports. Okay, and then inside the imports is dirs. Okay, so dirs stands for directories. Okay, and it will be an array. Okay, so dot, so the root file, and then forward slash, and then server, and then the utils. Okay, just like that. So the same thing if you also wanted to add an auto import, which is a custom folder here. So for example, here let's say test, you want to auto import all the files inside the test folder, you can also do that. Okay, so it will be something like this. So dot and / server and then the test. Okay, so let's actually do that. So let's try that, see if that works. So inside the test folder, let's create a new file and let's say testing.ts. Okay, and then let's just create a function. So let's name it. Let's name that testing. Okay, and then let's just simply return hello, I am from testing. Okay, and then let's just simply export default testing. Okay, just like that. So let's try and call that inside the API. So here, let's just remove that. So we know that our the my function here is working. Or actually, let's just run that first. So just to make sure that it works. Okay. So here's the API test endpoint. So that's this one. Okay. So send, and as you can see, it outputs the hello, I am from utils, which is this string right here. Okay. So now we're going to test the file inside the test folder. So let's see if that works. And let's also see if it auto imports it. Okay. So return, and that will be testing. Okay. So if it does not work, you need to restart your app again. So close that and then yarn dev. All right, and then let's just close that. And as you can see, it looks like it fixes the issue here. So if I type here testing, so it does not add the import here. Okay, so it automatically imports that for us. Okay, so let's test that. So let's run the API, and as you can see, it outputs the hello, I am from testing. Okay, so in case you have a reusable function, you can store that inside the utils folder, or you can just create your or if you want to create an auto import in one of the folder inside the server folder, you can just use that here and then call that inside the dirs here. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Okay. All right, we are finally in our last topic, and in this topic, we're gonna be discussing about H3. Okay, so what is H3? H3 is a minimal HTTP framework that powers Nitro, and Nuxt uses that under the hood. Okay, so just take note that H3 utilities are only gonna be available inside the server folder. Okay, so let's visit their documentation here. So on JS H3. Okay. So let's scroll down. So as you can see, they have the installation guide here, usage, router, and then the examples, and then the utilities. Okay. So we're not going to be discussing all of this because it's going to take a lot of time. We're only going to be focusing on the most common utilities that is mostly used. Okay. So that will be the readBody, for example, the getQuery, and then the getRouterParams, and then the what else here? GetRequestURL, and then set response headers, and then what else? The create error, and I think you already know about the create error. So just in case you don't, we're gonna be covering that up as well. And then the get cookie, set cookie, and then the delete cookie. Okay. So also here in the readBody and then the getQuery, we're gonna be adding a typings to that. Okay, so we know what data to expect. Okay, so let's see that in action. All right, so let's do some examples. So here I created a user folder and then a sign up endpoint. So the sign up is a post method. Okay, and then here in the postman, so I tested that and it works. Okay. So first, let's discuss about readBody. So readBody is useful when if you want to carry a message from the client and you want that message to be in the server. Okay, so to do that, const body, and then make sure to await. Okay, remember to await, and then read body. Okay, so inside the read body, it will be an event. Okay, just like that. And then let's also try to return that. So here, return the body, and then let's test that. Okay, so let's open the Postman, and here, if you are here in the params, just click the body, and then select raw, and then select JSON. Okay, and then here, let's say for example, first name is say John, and then last name is Doe. Okay, so we're gonna be expecting this data in our return here. Okay, since we're gonna be returning the full body. Okay, so back in the Postman, send that, and as you can see, it outputs the first name and the last name. Okay, and then here, if you hover the body, as you can see, it returns any. Okay, so if you want to add some typings to that, let's just create an interface here. So interface, and then let's say iBody, and then the body will have a first name, and that is a string, and then last name. Okay, that is a string as well, and then let's also add the email here. Okay, just to make it realistic. Okay, and then the password as well. Okay, so string, just like that. And then here, to add that here, let's just open close, and then body. Okay, and then the interface. Okay, so you are adding an interface in the body. Okay, and that will be the iBody. Okay, so now if you hover the body, it says instead of any, it's now the iBody. So if I'm going to put that here, okay, as you can see, the suggestions here are showing. Okay, so but if I'm going to remove that, okay, just to show it to you, just to show it to you. So body, and if I type that, it's not gonna suggest anything here. Okay, so revert that, and then okay, just like that. And if you also want to do a like a destructing statement, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the term for that, so you can also do that. Okay, so if you're going to press Control plus space, it will show the available properties. Okay, so email, first name, last name. Okay, so that's that. Let's actually try that. So here, if I'm going to return the email, okay, so in the body, I need to also add the email. Okay, so email, and then example test@gmail.com. Okay, we should be expecting that in our result here. Okay, so let's send that, and as you can see, it outputs the test@gmail.com. Okay, all right. Just a quick side note here. The read body will only gonna work if the method here is post. So if you're going to use get, the read body utility is not gonna be working. Okay, so let's actually test that. So if I'm going to change that to get, okay, and then here in the Postman, change the method to get, and then send. As you can see, HTTP method is not allowed. Okay, so that means that you can only use read body inside the if the method is post. Okay, so post, or I think you can also use in the put or patch if I'm not mistaken. So let's also see that. So save, and then put, and then send, and it works. Okay, so I think it will also work for the patch method. Okay, so patch, and then here patch. Okay, so it works. Okay, so it is not going to work if the method is get. Okay, so let's revert that back to the post. All right, so just this language crashed in 5 times in the last. Let's just close that, and then let's test that again. Okay, so send. As you can see, it's working back again. Okay, all right. Our next topic is gonna be about the read multi-part form data from H3. Okay, so here in the documentation, so that's this one here. So Read multi-part form data is useful when you upload the files to the server, so you can use that. Okay, so to do that, here in the VS Code, so const files, and then make sure to await, and then read multi-part form data, and then the event. Okay, and also if you're going to hover the files variable here, it says that the output, or it's going to return a multi-part data or undefined. Okay, so to do that, let's run a for each. Okay, so files, and then for each, and then file. Okay, just like that. So if you want to return the file name here, for example, so if you want to return the file name of the file, let's just create a new variable first. Okay, so result, and then that will be an array. Actually, it's an array of string. Okay, so here inside the for each, let's call the result variable, and then let's add an array. Okay, so result push, and then the file name. Okay, so here it says argument type string undefined is not assignable to parameter type string. So to fix that, just add an exclamation there. Okay, so we're telling TypeScript that we know that the file name is a string. Okay, so here the result, let's just return that. Okay, so here in the Postman, open the Postman, and then select, so instead of raw, select form data. Okay, so click on that, and then here inside the under key, make sure to change the text to file. Okay, and then here in the value, click on that, and then new file from local machine. Okay, and it will open up the tab here. Okay, so let's say we want to upload this one here. So as you can see, it starts with Fox, the file name, and then click on that, and then open, and then send. And as you can see, it outputs the file name, including the file extension. Okay, so if you want to learn more about the how to upload files in the in Nuxt, you can go to my channel here. So I created a video for that. So that's this one. Okay, so you can also view this one, but this one has a noisy background, so I recommend this one here.
Di ko akalain na
There's an ads, but that's the title. Okay, so back in the VS Code. So that's the basic of the read multi-part form data. All right, our next H3 topic is going to be getQuery. Okay, so let's just comment that for now. And then here, let's do the very basic of the getQuery. So const query, and then getQuery, and then the event. Okay, so you don't need to const. Okay, so you don't need to add the await here. All right, so let's just return that. So query. Okay, and then here in Postman, so click params, and then the key, it will be you can use any key you want, but in my case, it's going to be an ID in this example. Okay, and then let's also add a value here, which is 123, and then send that. Okay, so as you can see, it outputs the key and then the value here. Okay, so back in the VS Code, so if you hover the const query, so as you can see, it is unknown. Okay, so if you want to add a typings to that, you can go here, and then comma, and then query, and then closing curly brackets, and then here, let's just say ID, and that will be a string. Okay, so now when you hover the query, it says ID here. Okay, so query, and then when you click dot, or when you add dot, it suggests the ID. Okay, so let's test that one. Okay, so back in the VS Code, when I send that, it will output the 123. Okay, so that's how you add typings in the query. Okay, so just a quick side note, if you're gonna be wondering why I did not set number here, I set string instead of number. So usually the query parameters is always gonna return string, even if the value here is a number. Okay. All right. Our next H3 topic is going to be the getRouterParams, okay, or the getRouterParam, okay. So these two are the same. The only difference is the other one is singular, okay. And you can also specify the name of the parameter here. Okay, so let's see that in action. So back in the VS Code, and I think we already created that under inside the dynamic API route, so which is this one here. Okay, so let's create a new variable here, and that will be params, and then let's just copy that and then paste. Okay, and then let's just return the params. Okay, and also I would like to clarify something. GetRouterParams and getQuery are different. Okay, so here this is the parameter, so it's a dynamic API endpoint, and then here in the first tab here, so this is the query. Okay, it starts with a question mark and then the key and then equals the value. Okay, so that's the different there. Okay, so back in the VS Code, so here let's just actually let's test that one, make sure that it is working. So 1 2 3, and as you can see, it outputs the ID of the parameter ID and then the 1 to 3 value. Okay, that ID will be this one here. Okay, and also you can another way to access that is event context and then the params. Okay, so that'll work the same. All right, so here if you want to specify the ID, and it will context is possibly undefined. Okay, so add a exclamation there and it will fix the issue. Okay, so back in the postman here, send that, and as you can see, it outputs the 1 2 3, which is this one here. Okay, so now let's try the get router param. So get router param, okay, just like that, and then the event, okay, and then the second parameter. So as you can see it here, the first parameter is the event, and then the second parameter is the string. Okay, so in this case, it's an ID. Okay, and then the third parameter, oh, that's optional. As if you see the question mark here, that's optional. Okay, so here ID, and then proper variable naming. So since we already specified that it is an ID, it's best to change the variable here to an ID as well. Okay, and then save that and then test, and it outputs the 1 2 3. Okay, but if you're going to not specify that, or actually it's gonna cause an error since it needs to be specified, since this is a get router param. Okay, all right, our next H3 topic is the set response header. Okay, so in the VS Code or in the documentation, so set response header, which is this one here. Okay, so we're gonna learn the basic usage for that. So here, just simply call the set response header, and then the first parameter will be the event, and then the second parameter will be the name of the header. And as you can see, these are the suggestions of the suggested headers here. Okay, so for example, authorization. Okay, so there's a capital A, capital small a. Okay, not capital A, small a. Okay, so this time I'm going to where is it? What happened? This time I'm going to select capital A, authorization. Okay, and then the third parameter is the value. Okay, it's the value of the header. Okay, so for example 12, and then send that or save that, and then in the postman, so send that and go to the headers, and as you can see, it outputs the authorization and then 12 here. So if I'm going to change the value to 1 2 3, and then back in the VS Code and then send that, and as you can see, it outputs the 1 2 3. Okay, so next it's going to be the create error. So to do that, this is the basic of it. So create error. Okay, so here open closing brackets and then status code. So as you can see, there's a status code and then there's a status message. Okay, so status code, that will be a number, so that will be for example 500, and then status message error in your API. Okay, save that, and then back in the Postman. So click body here. Okay, so send that, and what happened? Oh, we are returning the testing here. So create error is not gonna create an error as long as you do not return it. Okay, so make sure to return that. Okay, so just like that, and then send, and it will output the error here. Okay, the 500, which is the status code, this one, and then the error message here. Okay, so usually it will be something like this. So let's just remove that, and then it will be under a try catch, and then the error will be let's just copy this one first. So copy that, and then remove, and then generate the try catch. Okay, and then return the um, when there's an error, return the create error, and then if not, return 200. Okay, so that's usually like that. Okay. All right, we are now in the last topic of H3. So, and that topic will be cookies. Okay, so we're going to learn how to parse, get, set, and delete. Okay, so I'm going to exclude the split cookie string since I don't know how to use that and I haven't used that before. Okay, so but usually it's these four here. Okay, so let's do that. So here in the VS Code here, I'm using the test API endpoint. Okay, so first let's do set cookie. Okay, so to do that, set cookie. Okay, and then it will have three parameters. So the first parameter is the event, okay, which is this event here. And then the second parameter is the cookie name. So for example, let's just say cookie name, okay. And then the third parameter is the cookie value, okay. So cookie value, right? Just like that. So you don't need to add a wait here, all right? So let's test that in Postman. So if you're in the body, just click the cookies here, okay? So here in the cookies, if I'm going to send that, and as you can see, it outputs the cookie name and then the cookie value, okay? And it's also, you can also set that to, example, you want to the HTTP only to true or secure to true. You can also configure that here. And that will be the fourth parameter, okay? So it will be like this. And then if you press Control plus space, it will output the available properties for us, okay? So HTTP only to true, okay? And then, for example, you also wanted to add an expiry date. And then here, it's going to be a, I think it's going to be a date. So new date, for example, okay? And then I'm not sure how to do 30 days. So, but let's try it, okay? So new date, and then new date, and then set, I think set date. Okay, and then inside the set date, it's going to be a new date. And then after that, let's I think it's get date, if I'm not mistaken. And then plus 30. Okay. So I did something like this before, like I will set an expiration to 30 days. So I did something like this before. I just forgot the syntax of how to do it. So let's actually test that and see what happens. So here in the Postman, so send that. Oh, it looks like it's working. The only difference is it's when the what happened? February 14. I think that works. Today is it's the 16th. So it's not working, but you get the point, okay? So you can set the expiry date like this, okay? So let's just leave that like that, and then you can also set same site here, and the available same site value here, okay? Just like that. So let's just remove that. And if you also want to add another cookie again, so cookie name 2, for example, and then the value to 2, okay? So let's send that one again. And as you can see, it adds the another cookie here, okay? So just like that. So if you wanted to get the cookie, for example, you want to like get the second cookie here. So you just simply need to do it like this. Okay. This time let's just return it. Okay. So that will be instead of set cookie, it will be get cookie. Okay. And then there's an event, and then the second parameter here is the cookie name. Okay. And that will be the cookie name 2, which is this one. Okay. So no need for a third parameter. So you only need 2 parameters here in the get cookie. Okay. So you don't need to add a weight here. Okay. Just like that, and then test that in the Postman. And then here, instead of cookies, select body, since we're gonna be returning the cookie here. Okay. So send that. And what happened? Cookie name 2. Oh, that's incorrect. Okay. So make sure that your cookie name matches the cookie name here, or in the second parameter here. Okay. So send, and as you can see, it outputs the cookie value 2, which is this one here. Okay. So now let's start the let's also try to parse the cookies. So as you can see here in the cookies, we have 2 cookies. So if you're going to parse that, it should return that in the it should return the cookies. Okay. So the 2 cookies. So let's do that. So let's just remove the get cookie. So here, and then parse cookies, and then the event. Okay. So you only need 1 parameter in the parse cookies. Okay. So save that, and then back to the Postman. And then instead of cookies here, select body. Okay. So send, and as you can see, it outputs the all the available cookies inside here. Okay. Now let's try to delete a cookie. So to do that, let's just leave the parse cookies there, and here let's just do a delete cookie. So delete cookie. Okay. And then that delete cookie will have 2 parameters. So the first one is the event, and then the second parameter is the name of the cookie. Okay. For example, you want to delete the cookie name 2, or the let's just go back to the Postman here. Example, you want to delete the first cookie. So paste that here. Okay. So you don't need to add a weight here also. Okay. So just like that. So send that. And if you go to the cookies, it removes the cookies. Okay. So you only have 1 cookie here. Okay. So now if you're going to send that again, it outputs the remaining cookies. Okay. So that's how you do cookies in the server side. Okay. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Alright, you've gained some awesome insights and hands-on experience with the fundamentals of using Nuxt API, middleware, plugins, utils, and auto imports, plus the most common used H3 utilities. Now, it's time to dive into building your dream API projects. Don't forget to show us some love by liking and subscribing if you enjoyed this content. Happy coding and stay safe.